So good morning. My name is Diana Rogers, and I am Senior Community Development Officer at NJEDA. And I would like to welcome each of you to our Small Business Lease Grant and Small Business Improvement Grant listing and information for Trenton businesses. And before we get into the presentation, I would like to take a moment and thank Eric Maywar, the City of Trenton's Economic Development Representative, for supporting this session and for supporting your local economy. Eric, would you like to say a few words to your businesses who have joined us?
Sure, but I also wanted to thank, it looks like Mayor Reed Gutierrez on the line.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, hi, how are you this morning? Thank you for joining us. Would you like to say a few words to your businesses?
Yes, Diane. Thanks. I'm actually going up to a meeting in Patterson. I'm meeting with Andre Saya. We're actually going to talk about public safety issues, which is very important and part of business development. I think that a lot of the answers to our problems is to get more economic development, so we have jobs and entrepreneurial opportunities, especially for the younger generation in Trenton. But we have a great team in economic development here in City Hall with Eric Maywire and our dynamic director, Andre Daniels, that are standing ready to talk to business people, see what problems you have so that we can work on solutions. There's a lot of grant funding out there. We offered COVID emergency loans. We also offered UEZ loans and loans outside of the UEZ zone through efforts of Greater Trenton. So there's a lot of resources, and I hope the small business persons out there in the community reach out to us. That's really important. Eric's a wonderful resource, as well as Andre, and have a wealth of economic tools at our disposal. So thanks so much for doing this for us. I'm sorry this is not could be live, but I'm sure, Diane, you're going to work on the next live one for us so that we could all mix and mingle together. But have a great conference.
Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely, Mayor. We are definitely going to be working on our live in-person meetings, and this is just the first of many. And so I want to thank you, Mayor, and thank your team, Eric and Director Daniels, for the work that you do in the City of Trenton. So now we're going to get started, and we're going to start just with a few instructions about Q&A. So please be aware that we will have time for questions at the end of the presentation. However, you may want to put questions in the chat box during the presentation, and we will get back to you throughout the chat or at the end of the session. Now, as I stated previously, I am Senior Community Development Officer for NJEDA. My primary focus is on government restricted municipalities, or GRMs, which were established through the Economic Recovery Act of 2020. I serve as the liaison between the GRMs and NJEDA, ensuring that the municipality, its community stakeholders, and businesses are able to take full advantage of the products and services offered by NJEDA. And as products and services roll out, it is my responsibility to ensure that you are made aware of what is available. I, along with our team of professionals at NJEDA, will accomplish this through briefings, one-on-one meetings, workshops, seminars, and listening sessions, much like what we are doing today. And again, hopefully moving forward, we will be able to do these in person. Now, just a few words about NJEDA. So NJEDA is New Jersey's principal agency focused on driving economic growth to create a stronger and fairer New Jersey. NJEDA grows the state's economy and increases equitable access to opportunity by supporting high quality job creation, catalyzing investment, fostering vibrant, inclusive community development, And we achieve these goals by working in partnership with a diverse range of stakeholders to implement programs and initiatives that improve quality of life, enhance economic vitality, and strengthen New Jersey's long-term economic competitiveness. And over the past 18 months, NJEDA's top priority has been supporting businesses and communities that have been impacted by COVID-19 pandemic. And during the 18 months, the authority issued more than 92,000 awards that equaled more than $665 million to businesses across New Jersey. Now, those businesses received support, and here are just some of the examples, types of support and awards provided by NJEDA during COVID-19. As you can see, the support varied from loans and grants to micro businesses and entrepreneurs to supporting meals for hundreds of thousands of New Jerseyans through our Sustain and Serve program. Now, looking beyond the immediate challenges of COVID-19, the NJEDA shifted, and now we're focusing on the Economic Recovery Act of 2020. And now the guiding light for these efforts in New Jersey, as I said, has been economic recovery and the Economic Recovery Act of 2020. It was signed in January 2021, and it creates a package of programs that includes tax credits to incentivize job creation, new construction and revitalization of brownfields and historic properties, also financial resources for small businesses. It supports new supermarkets and healthy food retailers in food deserts. It also provides funding, opportunities for early stage companies in New Jersey, and it supports our growing film and digital media industry in New Jersey. And now the ERA was designed to achieve long-term equitable economic growth that aligns with the priorities laid out in Governor Murphy's economic plan. And as you see here, those priorities are investing in people, investing in communities, making New Jersey a state of innovation, and making government work better. Now, for some of the programs that we have to achieve the ERA's goals and objectives, 8 programs were created, new programs were created, and then there was an expansion on 7 existing programs. And the new programs are listed here. And what you see is they provide a wide range of proven and innovative supports for businesses of all sizes, from incentives to help developers clean up contaminated sites and historic properties, to our groundbreaking New Jersey Innovation Evergreen Fund. And so you'll see, particularly if you go on NJEDA's website, you will see the programs and be able to read about the programs and understand them fully. And so the principles underlying some of these new programs are supporting job creation, increasing investment in innovation, providing relief to Main Street businesses, and also helping the underserved communities and implementing anti-corruption and oversight reform. And with that reform, we wanted to make sure that there was transparency and accountability. So as you see here, listed here are the efforts and the measures that have been put in place to ensure that there is going to be transparency and accountability within the ERA. And as you see, they include a number of critical reforms. And now as we move forward, 2 of the most exciting programs of the ERA are the Emerge and the Aspire programs. These programs are successors to Grow New Jersey and the Economic Redevelopment and Growth Program and the tax credits, which was called ERG. Both incorporate significant improvements to better align with New Jersey's overarching economic development goals. And if we start with Emerge, the Emerge program encourages economic development through job creation in priority sectors and in targeted communities across New Jersey. The program provides pre-job tax credits to projects that invest private capital into the state and create new good paying jobs or retain a large number of good paying jobs. And again, understanding that the city of Trenton is considered a government restricted municipality. There are only 3 GRMs and across the state of New Jersey. That would be Trenton, Patterson, and Atlantic City. And so as a GRM city, projects receive $4,000 to $8,000 per new job created or retained per year for 7 years. And only projects located in GRM cities can max out at $8,000 per job. And additionally, the threshold for projects that have a combination of new jobs and retained jobs is lower in GRM cities, as well as the net benefit to the state. And so it's bonuses like this that incentivize development in GRM cities like the city of Trenton. And the other project program is the Aspire program. Aspire is a gap financing tool to support commercial and mixed use development and residential real estate development projects. And it replaces the ERG program. Like Emerge, the program, there are benefits to GRM cities. With Aspire, one such benefit is the minimum project cost threshold. With Aspire, minimum project costs are based on population where the project is taking place. So for the GRM cities, the minimum project cost is $5 million, regardless of population. Now, the Aspire is not out yet. We just completed public comment on Aspire. And so that program is planned for a rollout in early 2022. And what we'll do is we'll have another one of these sessions to be able to sit and talk with individuals who have development interest in the city of Trenton. We'll go through the Aspire program. We'll also go through the Emerge program so that they can understand it a bit better. And now I want to turn it over to my colleague, Carla Morrison, who will begin to provide you with some information about the Small Business Lease Grant and the Small Business Improvement Grant programs. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm grateful to be here. And one of the various ERA programs that I'll focus on today is the Main Street Recovery Program. And while Emerge and Aspire will foster vibrant community spaces, the Main Street Recovery Program will provide the financial boost businesses and nonprofits need to reopen and prepare for long-term success in the aftermath of COVID-19. Now, this $100 million program will fund multiple financial assistance products aimed at supporting the growth and success of New Jersey small businesses. These products will include grants for small businesses and nonprofits, loans to micro businesses, and resources for lenders that serve micro businesses and other historically disadvantaged communities. Next slide. The first 2 products created under the Main Street Recovery Program are the Small Business Lease Grant and the Small Business Improvement Grant. Now, these products are aimed at revitalizing downtowns by helping business lease street-level space or make investments in improving their facade or space. The Small Business Lease Grant is a $10 million program that will provide 2 grants of up to 20% of annual lease payments to businesses and nonprofits entering new or amended leases. The first grant will be paid to entities immediately after they are approved for the program and execute the grant agreement. And the second grant will be paid after the first year of the lease. Now, in order to qualify for the Small Business Lease Grant, businesses and nonprofits must enter a new lease amendment, or lease extension that includes at least 250 square feet of street-level office, commercial, or retail space. Applicants must also commit to remaining in the lease space for at least 5 years. We have more information about the Small Lease Grant and how to apply, and it's available on our website, and we will put the link right in the chat for everyone. Commercial businesses and nonprofits are eligible to apply as long as they meet SBA's definition of a small business determined by their NAICS code. The applicant will need to provide a tax clearance certificate, for which we have instructions on our website. We have a checklist and we have instructions that help you to get everything that you might need. Applicants must also be in good standing with the Department of Labor and the Department of Environmental Protection. Applicants also must certify at time of the application that they will remain in the space for 5 years. The lease space that we are giving a grant for must meet the following eligibility requirements. The lease space must be 250 to 10,000 square feet of commercial or retail space, of course, with a minimum of 5-year term. Now, if it's more than 10,000, we will give the grant for up to the first 10,000 square feet. Again, it must be a new lease or amendment or extension of an existing lease. And if it's amended, an additional 250 square feet. So it has to be an expansion. It must include the first floor. So if the space is multiple floors, 1, 2, 3 floors, we will do the grant based on the street level. And that's what we'll give the funds for. It must be a market rate based on commercial real estate information. So based on commercial real estate information, what is the average lease price? It has to be within market rate. And it has to be executed. So when you do your application, it can be no more than a year prior that you signed your lease. Here are some very important exclusions. Applicants cannot terminate an existing lease and enter into a new lease for the same or less square footage in order to pursue this grant. Businesses operating under an existing small business lease assistance program grant are not eligible to apply, but may opt out of their existing grant agreement to pursue this grant. Grantees that default on lease payments or leave the space during their grant term are no longer eligible for the incentive and must repay any funding they received from EDA. High-tech and business incubator members in non-for-profit facilities are not eligible for the independent lease incentives. However, operators of incubators are eligible. Landlords cannot have ownership interests in the tenant, and the tenant would need to get certification from the landlord that they are current on their lease payments. Now, the Small Business Improvement Grant is a $15 million program that will provide grants up to $50,000 to businesses and nonprofits for a portion of costs associated with the facade and the facility improvements, and to purchase or install furniture, fixtures, and equipment. The project has to be completed and paid for prior to applying for the grant. Grants are available for projects that were completed anytime since March 9th, 2020. March 9th, 2020, with total project costs of $5,000 or more. So the minimum that the project had to cost is $5,000. Businesses and nonprofits that receive grants less than $25,000 must commit to remaining in the space they are investing in for at least 2 years. Grant recipients who receive $25,000 or more must stay in the space for at least 4 years. Now, projects that have a total cost greater than $50,000 are required to adhere to green project standards for mechanical and lighting improvements. We do have more information in regards to the Small Business Improvement Grant and application process on our website. And again, I will make sure that the link directly to the improvement grant is available in the chat. Now, to be eligible for the Small Business Improvement Grant, the applicant must meet the following criteria. The applicant must meet the SBA definition of a small business based on NAICS code, rent or own and operate from the facility as commercial business, provide a tax clearance certificate that is current and be in good standing with the Department of Labor and Department of Environmental Protection, and certify at the time of application that they are not in default of any other NJEDA or state assistance, and the applicant must certify at the time of application that they are willing to pay wages that are greater of $15 an hour or 120% of the minimum wage rate. Tipped employees are required to be paid only 120% of minimum wage rate. In order to be eligible for reimbursement, the project must be completed prior to application. Some home-based businesses are eligible, but only for the purchase and/or installation of furniture, fixtures, and equipment. All work must have been completed within 2 years of the application date, but not before March 9th, 2020. Invoices, statements, and canceled checks must be provided as proof of payment for the project. Now, in its entirety, the requirements for the Main Street Recovery Program are minimum wage requirements, green building standards for the Small Business Improvement Grant. Projects with a total cost of $50,000 or more must adhere to green building standards. For the purpose of the improvement grant, this is applicable to mechanical and lighting improvements only. Another requirement is affirmative action. If the small business has contractors with 4 or more employees contracted for the project, it will be subject to affirmative action requirements. Now, in addition to the Small Business Lease Grant and the Small Business Improvement Grant, the NJEDA intends to pilot additional products to be funded through the Main Street Recovery product. Products currently under development include low-cost working capital loans of up to $50,000 for micro businesses and loans to micro business lenders to help them increase capacity under their existing loan programs or to establish new micro business lending programs. Lenders who participate in the program will also receive grants to support technical assistance services such as credit repair services, assistance with writing business plans, and help preparing financial statements for micro businesses that receive loans from them. Eligible lenders that may qualify for these programs will include community development financial institutions, otherwise known as CDFIs, minority depository institutions, otherwise known as MDIs, zone development corporations within cities with populations of 100,000 or more, community development corporations, economic development corporations, and nonprofit lenders with at least 10 years of experience lending to micro businesses. I'm now going to turn it over to my colleague, Ms. Maggie Peters. Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Carla. I'm going to go through some of our other small business products, just give a quick overview of the standard small business services products. We have direct loans available up to $2 million, offering small businesses a variety of low-cost financing options, which include direct loans, loan participations and guarantees, line of credit guarantees, and tax-exempt bond financing. New Jersey businesses in need of financing and committed to job creation or retention may be eligible for direct loans through the EDA, but these programs do have job creation and retention requirements. Loans up to $2 million are available for fixed assets, and working capital loans are available up to $750,000. We have a Premier Lender program as well. In addition to the direct loans, the EDA also partners with banks to overcome financial obstacles that stall growth and expansion for businesses. So we work with our Premier Lenders to lessen the risk of lending so that we can make sure that our small businesses are getting the most attractive interest rates and terms, flexible working capital, and then it reduces the exposure for the bank and the EDA, and then we can make a better deal for the small business. Next slide. So here is our network of Premier Lenders. You can see we have large lenders, we have local, small. We partner with a lot of banks, making sure that we are, reaching all the communities in New Jersey and partnering with the banks that people are already banking with. Next slide, please. CDFI Loan to Lenders program. To better assist small businesses, the EDA also created the CDFI Loan to Lenders program to leverage our community development financial institution partners. You'll see CBAC, UCEDC, Pursuit, New Jersey Community Capital. we partner with these CDFIs to get money into our communities for our small and micro businesses. So through that program, we, provide lines of credit, regular term loans, that type of thing, really flexible low interest financing for small businesses. We also have a small business bonding readiness program. So this is a relatively new program administered by the Small Business Services Unit. Of course, sometimes money isn't the only thing that a business needs. Technical assistance is also very important. Making sure that the company can do the most with whatever financing they're able to secure, making sure that they can grow their business through contracting. So we work with our partners to provide that technical assistance for small businesses, helping them grow. One of our most successful technical assistance programs is this Small Business Bonding Readiness Assistance Program, which we run in partnership with the African American Chamber of Commerce. This program provides a comprehensive series of classes, workshops, and strategic counseling sessions covering a variety of topics relevant to small businesses in all sectors. So this includes bonding and insurance, business development, financial presentation, construction and contact law, estimating and credit, access to capital, that type of thing. And at the end of the program, all the businesses receive a bonding readiness segment report, basically an in-depth assessment of their strengths and weaknesses so that they can help plan for their business's future and address any of those weaknesses and build on any of those strengths. They're also connected to entities that provide surety bonding so that they can become bonded and pursue state and federal contracts to help grow their business. So that's the most important part, those relationships, making sure that, in the end, these businesses are getting more contracts and continue to grow and be stronger. To date, nearly 100 businesses have participated in this program, and our participants have qualified for $33 million in surety bonding through this program. So it's something that we're really proud of. And there's more information on our website, but this is a partnership with the African American Chamber. So I appreciate everyone's time. And I know that was a lot of information, so I'm happy to answer any questions. Feel free to put them in the chat. And thanks for inviting me to speak.
Thank you, Maggie and Carla. And so now we're going to open up for questions. You can use the raise hand function in Zoom in order to ask a question, or you could put your question in the chat box. And so we're now open for questions.
There are a few in the chat. There's one in particular that just came in. If she doesn't mind that I read it out. It's, when is the deadline to apply for the Main Street Recovery Plan? Is there a due date for work completed? For example, if we are currently working on an improvement project that is unfinished, but we will be finished in a few months, can we still apply for the grant?
So I'll take that one. So funding is available until it's exhausted. So it's very hard for us to say, okay, like wait and apply, or it'll be available or anything like that. It just depends on volume. So for the improvement grant, that's a $15 million fund. We're expecting to have that live late November, December sometime. The lease grant is live now. It's been open since the 20th. So we're still accepting applications for that, but it's just a matter of how fast the funding is accounted for.
All right. So I'll go ahead and read a couple more that have come in through the chat. For the improvement grant, if we have not started yet, and then, okay, we already covered that. The links are for some additional details of these are in the chat as well. And this one specifically about the Aspire program. Is this an opportunity for new developers as well?
So yes, the Aspire program is an opportunity for any developers interested in real estate development, commercial real estate development, mixed use development. So yes.
I'm going to check and see if anybody has a raised hand, if there are any other messages. Does a resident business whose owners have work authorization papers qualify for some of these loans and grants?
Absolutely. It's really about what your business has, making sure that you have formation documents, making sure that you can, provide the information that we need.
All right, and I'm going to, we do have a couple folks who want to ask some live questions. So I'm going to start with Andre McNair. And then you should be able to talk. If you have your question, go ahead.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi. Is the small business improvement grant restricted just to municipalities within, is it restricted to just government restricted municipalities, or is that statewide with the set aside for the restricted municipalities?
Statewide, not just government restricted municipalities.
And it is expected to go live later on this month?
November, December, the improvement grant. The lease grant is live now, but the improvement grant, late November, December-ish.
And our businesses, this is definitely 3 questions, but last part there, can a business apply for both?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Also, I just want to point something out. So, NJEDA is really active on social media, but a great way to know when we're launching new programs and be ready for those programs is to go to the bottom of our homepage and put your email in so that you are getting all the EDA updates. When programs are going to launch, what the eligibility requirements are, as well as following on social media. That's the best way, because a lot of times, this is like a first come, first serve situation. So it's always good to be ready and be early.
Right. And just if I can add something there as well, to Maggie's statement, is that as a GRM, again, my responsibility is to ensure that you're getting this information, and we're trying to make sure that the GRMs are positioned in a way that, almost before the launches, and like Maggie said, if you go to the website, but we will be having these types of sessions. So we'll be meeting with the municipal officials and updating them on, each of the programs that are going to be rolling out. And then we will have these types of events so that you will be able to get this information and prepare yourself to be able to submit applications. So if you have something that's missing, you can work on that before the rollout of the program.
All right, let's go to Vincent, who's got his hand up as well. Go ahead, Vincent, you should be able to speak.
Yes, we have several projects that total around $8,000, but no one single project that's $5,000. Can we combine them for that $5,000 grant? Did you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I heard you, but I'm not sure I understand, Vincent. Can you?
Okay, we're putting in new floors, storage area, and buying coolers. Each of those separate things only cost between $3,000 and $4,000, but total would come to, say, $8,000. Now, you said that the project would be a minimum of $5,000, so I'd like to combine them to get the grant.
So you can combine expenses for the small business improvement grant. However, they have to be the same EIN.
Yeah, it's the same business, so it would be all under the same the same business that we're doing. Yes, thank you.
You're welcome. Carla, check me if I'm wrong here.
let's go ahead and move on to Guillermo, unless there's something to add for that one.
Yes, good morning. If my business is in the second floor, does it qualify for the improvement grant?
Yes. The improvement grant does not have to be street level, just the lease grant.
Great, thank you.
Mhm. Thank you, Guillermo. And then we've got a few more coming in. Algeron, I'm going to go to you real quick. There, you should be able to speak.
Good morning, all. Good morning, Diana, Eric, all my good friends. In the last year or so, I've been working in the Trenton community in the housing, Trenton Housing Authority and other areas to open a nonprofit credit union. What I'm seeing in your presentation is that this is for businesses that have already been established. What can you do for startups who are just getting off the ground and would need help with facilities, et cetera?
So you could apply for these things as long as you have like formation documents. For the lease grant, you would need a lease executed 12 months prior to application. You're not excluded, but we would, you know, there would be documentation that you would have as a startup. So we would have to review it.
Thank you.
All right, we do have someone on the phone, so go ahead. If you're calling on the phone, you should be able to unmute. It's a 215 number. You may have to press *9 or *6 if you can hear us. Okay, I think we're going to move on to Maurice or Jocelyn Witt. How about that? Let's go. You should be able to talk, Jocelyn. Oops.
You're on mute, Jocelyn.
Thank you, Eric. I thought I clicked that microphone. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the presentation. I'm from the Big Easy of Trenton restaurant, and I submitted an application for the rental lease assistance, but I need to speak directly with someone because I need to resubmit the application. When I submitted the initial application, I inadvertently clicked on the wrong lease. I had amended lease for another grant, and I didn't send the full lease. So my application initially is rejected. I've called, but I've never been able to reach anybody. So I do wish to resubmit the application.
Jocelyn, why do you think that you were rejected?
Because the lease that I submitted was not the entire lease.
Okay, so you're not going to be rejected because of that. We have, you know, we're manually reviewing every application. So when a person looks through your file, we'll see that it's not the entire lease or it's not the correct lease or whatever else is missing from the file or whatever clarifications we need. So someone will be in touch when it's reviewed. You won't just be declined because of that.
Oh, I did receive an email indicating that the application was rejected. So I'm in a state of panic.
Yeah, so we have, I mean, I'm not aware of any emails that have gone out. I mean, we just were able to upload the applications into the system and we've just started reviewing just like the first 10 or so. Okay, so I put in the chat that you should email Small Business Services, SBS, Small Business Services, NJEDA.com. And then that way we'll be able to look up your exact application and figure out what's going on. But I'm not aware of any rejections or anything that's really gone out besides an application confirmation to applicants.
Okay, because if I need to reach out to Eric, I know Eric, I could just pop in and speak to him if that helps, because I don't see the link in the chat yet.
Yeah, so I put it in before. So also I'm going to put in Carla Morrison's. Carla, pop your email in for Jocelyn, and let's see if we can figure out what's going on with her application. But you wouldn't just be rejected for that because a human has to review the leases manually.
Right. Thank you, Maggie.
You're welcome. Thanks, Carla. Jocelyn, it's in there.
And then if we can stay with that for a little bit, can you talk a little bit about how grants are assessed and scored, what that process looks like? And
Yeah, so I wouldn't call it scoring. It's more like a review. There's a checklist available on the website with eligibility requirements and the documentation that we are requiring. And so the applicant uploads all that stuff and then we review it. It's mostly about, being a market rate lease, having your formation docs, showing that your landlord has signed the landlord certification saying, okay, this person is in good standing, for a grant and that type of thing. So it's not scoring. It's basically making sure that the applicant is eligible, calculating the payment, and then moving it forward.
okay. And then how would you get clearance from DEP? Can you provide any additional guidance there?
That's something we do on the back end. So don't worry about that. It's something we do internally.
Okay. Are there any alternatives to applying online? Or do people have to submit programs or their applications online?
Must apply online.
Are there any assistance? I would think that if folks can't apply online, if they can email that SBS at NJEDA.
You have to apply online. I mean, you can email us, you can, ask us for assistance, work with customer care, work with small business services folks, me and Carla and stuff like that. But you are going to have to apply online and submit it.
If you need, if it's access to a computer that you need, you can come in here and the city can help.
Thank you. Okay, we've got a few more. Can you speak at all to the technology that would qualify as an improvement? Is there, can you provide some examples?
I would just say not software, so any types of hardware and that type of, technology would work. And then, for the improvement grant, we're looking at equipment that resides at the facility, is more permanent. So nothing that can be moved from facility to facility.
All right, we've got it. I'm just checking to see if we've got any more coming through. Everybody who had their hand raised has been gotten to. When, how do we stay up to date in terms of when the improvement grant goes live and where that will be?
You should go to the bottom of njeda.com and you should put your email into our newsletter box so that you're getting like all our press releases, you're getting every program detail that the EDA releases. And then of course, social media is another good way, but I think the website is probably the best way. You're getting it as soon as we release it to the public.
And in addition, the city will pass it along too once it's live.
Right.
So you'll get an email from me.
And you'll get an email from Eric, and also as soon as it's board approved, and it goes live, we send that information to the city. So you'll get those updates.
And the direct link is actually in the chat as well. It says, scroll to the bottom, and it says newsletter link. So it's in the chat somewhere.
Yeah, I just reposted it as well.
So there are several ways to stay on top of it. We just encourage you to continue to go to the NJEDA website, continue to stay connected to Eric, to get any and all updates that are coming from NJEDA.
Did you have anything else, Eric, to add?
Yeah, there's a new question came in. May I use the grant resources for installation of solar panels for their business?
Mm-hmm.
I think so.
That's what sounds. Okay. That's that one that also came through that says, please explain the affirmative action requirement piece. I've used mostly minority contractors. However, the main contractor was not a minority. So how that would be qualified.
So in terms of the affirmative action requirement, if it gets triggered if your contractor has 4 or more employees, generally, not just 4 or more employees that worked on your project. So, you know, that's what would trigger it. And then you would just fill out a couple of forms. Your contractor would fill out a couple of forms, and then you'd be on your way. We're just collecting the information. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. As long as you've submitted the forms, you're good.
It's not an additional certification or anything like that. That's great.
Correct.
That's great. Okay. I'm just going through to make sure we haven't missed anything that's come through in the chat. If anybody's missed anything, if we've missed anything, hasn't had a question, if you can resubmit it in the chat, or you can raise your hand and say it verbally as well. Can you maybe speak a little bit just specifically to nonprofits? There is someone who's asking specifically about the Trenton Community Credit Union and what they would be applicable for, but perhaps you can talk a little bit about nonprofits in general and how they could apply for these and what they aren't applicable for.
Sure, same requirements, Caitlin. Yep. So it's commercial businesses and not-for-profits. You would just have to, for the lease grant, you would just have to have signed a lease in the past 12 months and then meet some of those other eligibility requirements that Carla had outlined. And, you know, same for the improvement grant. You just have to show us the documentation that you made those improvements, and then we're able to move forward. We've tried to be as flexible as possible on these 2 programs. So we're hoping to be really inclusive.
Was there, and this is for me, was there a specific line about something that the nonprofits were not applicable for in the presentation? I thought there was something, but perhaps that I'm mistaken. So,
yeah, I don't think so. Carla, anything you can think of?
Sorry about that. No, nonprofits are eligible.
Yeah, I can't remember an exclusion. But either way, I think it's always a good idea to submit. There's no application fee, right? There's just an approval fee. And that's when you've already been reviewed and are going to approval. So you really have very little to lose. It's a pretty simple application process. We're not asking for a lot of documentation. We're just asking for like formation documents, tax returns, any like payroll reports or WR-30s. There's a couple of forms like a landlord certification form, but really it's worth applying if you're not sure. And we're really not declining people at this point. We're reviewing every application. So I encourage everybody who thinks they're eligible to apply. And there's a checklist online. This presentation will be forwarded. I'm sure Caitlin will email it around to all the participants. So we've been very clear about eligibility so people don't waste their time. But I will say you're not losing, if there's no application fee.
Thank you. And Eric, I'm not sure if your hand's raised from earlier, but if you had something else.
Yeah, Algernon had a question where he talked about his project not being downtown. Are these projects only available in the urban enterprise zone, or are they throughout the city?
Statewide.
Go ahead, Eric. You can jump in whenever. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, that was it.
Okay. Wonderful. I'm not seeing anything else as of right now. So unless there's anything else that pops up from folks. Or anything else anybody else would like to add? Diana?
No, I think we've essentially covered the Main Street programs, those that are available now, and some of the other existing programs. And again, if you have questions, please feel free to reach out to me. Carla also provided her information if you have specific questions about small business services and the Main Street program. But again, just go to the website. We encourage you to go to the website, to stay on top of what is available at EDA, and stay connected with Eric. We will continue to push information to the city as information and as products and services roll out. We will make sure that the city of Trenton is well positioned in order to take advantage of those opportunities. And so we really encourage you to stay on top of everything.
And then Andre, did you have anything else that you wanted to add? I do see that your hand's raised. Another question?
So just to be clear, this project funding is for work that has already commenced and been completed, or is it also, or are future project costs also eligible if they were to take place within and be completed within 2 years of the application date?
Andre, it's a reimbursement. So the work would already have to have been completed because we're asking for the documentation to show that it's completed and how much it costs and that type of thing. So completed.
But it could be future projects. It could be things you haven't started yet now, but you just do the reimbursement after you're completed.
Correct.
And that's not Andre McNair. I want to out him right now.
Hey, Eric, it's me and Elijah here.
Could you elaborate on that, Eric?
Well, it's like the building improvement loan. You can apply for it now for projects that you haven't started, but you don't get the reimbursement until after you've finished the project and you provide the documentation that the project is finished, and then you get the reimbursement. But it doesn't have to be a project you've already finished. It could be something that you haven't started yet.
Thank you.
But you should be able to provide documentation at time of application that it's complete.
At the time of the application.
Right. You submit, we want to see the documentation that it's complete. That's how we're going to move it through the process.
At the time of the application.
Yeah, I mean, we will follow up with someone and say, okay, like we're missing this or that, and you can provide it, but it has to be completed to get the grant.
Thank you.
And I just want to add completed and paid for, because that's what the documentation we'll be getting is canceled checks, invoices, things of that nature. So it is a reimbursement.
And ultimately, we think that some future projects may be able to be covered because it's until the funds are exhausted. Ultimately, that's why there's not a clear end date for the funding.
Thank you.
Let's see. Okay.
So it looks like Algernon had a question in the chat about documenting a future project.
Yeah, I think I confused that, Algernon. I don't think I quite understood it. So just listen to Maggie. She knows everything.
So you've done a project, you apply for the improvement grant, you submit your invoices, your statements, your cancel checks, whatever you have to show that you've completed the project, and that's submitted with the application. So yes, depending on when you apply, it may be a future project, but you should have it done when you apply for the application. And it's open until funds are exhausted. So maybe that's confusing too. Like, we're not telling people to just apply for projects that are going to be happening in the future. It's a reimbursement. So if you've done a project, then you can apply and provide that documentation.
So Ahmed also has a question. Can one use the loan to buy a new business location?
So, I think you're talking probably about the direct loan. So yes, it can be, it's mostly used for fixed assets, so it can be used for that, but just make sure that you meet the requirements for how much money you want and that type of thing. Make sure that you look at the website and see if you're eligible first.
I don't see anything else coming through. So at this point, last call, I guess. Oh, Guillermo has one more thing. All right, just a moment. You should be able to. We should be able to hear you, Guillermo.
Okay. The $15 minimum requirement, that's for the business that's applying for, or for the contractor that you hire?
For the business. All the employees must be paid, yeah.
Okay. And that was for the improvement grant or the
both.
Lease? For both. Okay. Thanks.
All right. Last call, last call. Anyone else with questions?
Carla just put the information for the direct loan for the man who wanted to purchase a building in the chat.
Great.
Okay, Martha just put a question in the chat. What is the earliest date a project can start?
I guess that's for the improvement grant. So it would just have to be within 2 years prior to the application. So it's your application date that really matters.
Okay, well, everyone, I want to thank you for participating in today's listening and information session. Your questions were wonderful, and we thank you for the opportunity to be able to answer these questions for you. Again, we will continue to have these types of sessions available to the Trenton business community, the development community moving forward. And I want to, Guillermo, you have another question?
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. And I again want to thank the mayor, Director Daniels, as well as Eric for the work that they're doing in the city. And again, we will be working closely to ensure that Trenton businesses are able to take full advantage of the opportunities that are available from the EDA. And I would like to thank our team, Carla, Maggie, and Caitlin, for the work that they've done. I see Director Daniels. Director Daniels, did you want to say anything before we close out?
Yeah, thank you, Diana. And my most humble apologies that I had to darken my screen or go off screen as I was traveling en route from one appointment this morning to Trenton. I wanted to thank you just for the opportunity. As you know, I just want to really reiterate what the mayor said. Economic development is the portal in which we expect to revitalize downtown and quite frankly, across the city of Trenton, and also to create economic opportunity. When you create economic opportunity, you have the ability to create jobs. We're working very closely with the other departments, police, fire, and health and human services, and public works, with some of their most urgent issues. And I think that if we can solve and put some of our young people to work, to begin to value, and when you begin to value things, you start looking at it from the perspective of ownership. And when we get that, then the capital city is the city that she deserves to be. And I think that the Aspire program is something that I'm very excited about. I even stopped by Eric's desk to say, can we get the handouts? And he assured me that we can. I look forward to hearing more about that. And just I'm just really excited about the training that we will get here at the city, and working very closely with their office and your team to just mobilize and get more Trenton residents involved. Thank you for the time.
Thank you, Director Daniels. And with that, we've come to an end. We want to thank everyone for their participation, and we look forward to talking with you again. Have a great day.